Hey, 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 everybody. It's the Harris Family Unit with the Harris Family TV show.
Hello.
Hey guys.
Guys, we just want to come to y'all today. Got a little bit to share with you all, and I guess we'll let Tara start off with a little bit of icebreaker.
Well, we're back from our trip, sadly. We missed the kids, I think. I'm kidding. We missed you a lot. Did y'all miss us?
Yes.
Okay, so well, what do you have to say about the trip, honey? I like when we travel. I like to learn about the places that we go to. So I like to get the history of it, and we learned that they had a McDonald's there that only lasts for 6 months. You want to tell them why, babe?
Yeah, they actually said it was because it was fake food, and Barbados has an influx, an abundance of food sources. So, like Tara said, McDonald's came in. They only lasted barely for 6 months, and they were ousted out. They still have a Burger King over there. Got a lot of KFCs.
Oh yeah.
But they said McDonald's food was sub quality, so they kicked them out. So there's one place in the world where I know there are no McDonald's.
And some of the history, in schools they'll only teach about, the history about us, that our U.S. history. So when we go to these different countries, that we found out, there were slaves there first. So of course Barbados was one of those places, and we learned about, just the people there, their education, and how they got the country is a commonwealth now, and how they got it back from the British, but it's still very British and fluctuated, right? Like a lot of the tourists are from London and British countries, and so they are very much still there. And
yep. And there's a lot we learned there. The money's about the same, not too big of a difference. I think it was 150. Well, I remember a guy tried to sell us some shoes. Remember the little handmade shoes he tried to sell? And we were at the straw market down at the fish fry on Friday, and he was like, it's 150 Barbados dollars, which came up to be like 75 US dollars. So it's like 1 for 1, or 2 for 1.
And we actually found out that they do a lot of horse racing there. Like people come from Britain and Saudi Arabia and all around the world just to come race their horses in Barbados.
Yeah.
Who knew?
And we just missed Rihanna. She's gonna be there next week, actually, for
their carnival.
So we had an opportunity to boat out to her home out there. It was really nice. We did some snorkeling too.
Oh yeah.
The Tara was out there swimming with the sea turtles. So that was pretty fun. We saw some shipwrecks and everything. So as many of you guys saw, I got in the water, and I'm getting better each trip. So we're gonna keep working on that though. Tara said she's gonna put me and Kaden in a swim class. So
yes, they both have learned to swim by their next birthday. You hear that?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, we can't promise them that one, huh, buddy?
I want a promise from both of you.
Well, we'll see what we can do. Both the girls, they can swim like jellyfish though, so we'll see what's up. Oh, I want to talk about the investment opportunity too. When we were out there, we were boating up the West Coast, and there were 2 resorts that were side by side, and they were both abandoned. So of course, me being in my investor mindset, I asked my captain what was the history and the backstory to those properties. But long story short, some builders went haywire, and a lot of the workers were actually put out of business because they locked all of their equipment inside when they took possession of that property. So that is something that we're looking at and considering, thinking about getting with some of my capital partners and see what we may be able to do. We never go places without looking at the business aspect, whether it's either banking or real estate. Yeah.
So let's start with some questions.
Okay.
Let's do a couple questions for you and Kennedy. I'm going to ask the question. You should know the answer about her, and she should know the answer about you. You got it? So, Kennedy, what is Caden's favorite thing to do when he's by himself?
He likes to play on his tablet a lot and his Xbox.
And what does Kennedy like to do when she's by herself?
He said Kennedy never by herself.
You're right.
She's always with her friends.
What about at home?
Here?
Yeah, what is she? What does she do when she's by
She
herself?
usually watches videos. She mainly watches music videos, though.
That's the dance machine.
What's Caden's favorite food, Kennedy?
Everyone should know
Wings.
this.
What's Kennedy's favorite food?
Pizza.
Is it Kennedy?
Uh-oh.
The other day.
Well, tell us, what is your favorite food?
Salmon.
She changes.
Yeah, it'll change from week to week. Last week it was pizza, week before hot wings.
So since Kennedy likes music, what's her favorite music artist?
Mm.
Who do you think?
Mm.
What's Caden's favorite game, Kennedy? What do you think it is?
Oh, I know.
It's not your turn.
Okay.
Roblox and GTA?
Is that right, Caden?
Yes.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
Okay, now let's get into some talk about reading.
Okay.
One of the things I stress to the kids about reading, like sometimes they don't want to read, as all kids, sometimes as adults we don't want to read, but I stress to them the importance of them knowing how to read or having the chance to know how to read. I'm like, your ancestors did not have a chance to read, or they would go to jail if they even learned how to read. So you should appreciate the fact that you know how to read and can learn it. So what is important to you about reading for your kids?
Well, I think it's real important to read because that's how we exercise our mental muscle. Just like we go to the gym, work out, whether we jog, ride bicycles, what have you. Your brain is a muscle as well, and the best way to stimulate that is to read. And I just remember growing up, my mom and dad would always tell us, read a book, read a book. So that's one thing we do with the kids. We focus on that. They get a lot of time to play, downtime, but we always make sure that reading is always implemented.
Tell them what you want for your birthday, Caden.
I want...
You forgot already? It has to do with reading. What did you tell me you wanted?
Oh, I want a bookshelf.
Yeah. So you need some books to put on that bookshelf, right?
Yeah.
So if y'all have some recommendations for Caden, list them below. If you want to mail them to him, you'll take those too, right? Okay, so Mr. Harris, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book of all time, I guess, would be Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. And I like that one because he talks about group economics, which I think everyone needs to understand to understand how communities can thrive dependently and interdependent with one another.
What's your favorite book, Kennedy?
Short Diaries.
And what's that about?
And that is about a girl and her nerdy friends. That I'm at the series where she's figuring out what she wants for her birthday party. So her friends help her with the birthday party, and they're deciding if they should do a pool party.
Cool. What is your favorite book, Kaden?
My favorite book is The 10X Rule.
And who is that by?
Grant Cardone.
What's that about?
It teaches about how to make money, and I like that because I want to make even more money.
Well, I'm the person that changes a lot. So my favorite book is always the one I'm reading. And this is one that I stole from Sean. I saw him reading it on the airplane. It's called Building Atlanta by Herman Russell. It's really good.
Herman is the man. He was the man.
So I'm all wrapped up into that book right now.
And why do you like it?
I like it because it's relatable as far as, as far as him building in Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta. Is the entrepreneur aspect of it. And he talks about how he started his first business as a kid and it grew and grew and grew. And so that's why I like it.
Mm-hmm. And he also, a lot of times people think that, when you build a successful business, a lot of times you don't have any kind of struggles. But one of the things that Herman talked about was having a speech impediment at an early age. And, he didn't let that hold him back as far as the successes he's had. And most of the big buildings you see here in Atlanta that's been here, such as the Equitable Building, which is the Georgia Pacific Building now, the Coca-Cola Building, all those buildings were built by Mr. Herman. So it's a great read.
So who has a favorite quote that they want to talk about? Okay.
This quote is by E.T. It's called if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful.
That means you gotta want it really bad, huh? If you have to want to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Kennedy, you got one?
I forgot her name.
Kennedy's been reading about Maya Angelou. So,
what's your quote?
I forgot that too.
Let me help you. Rise.
What's yours, Daddy?
Well, my favorite one is one of my own quotes, actually. I wrote it in my very first book called Lean Forward Towards Success. And that quote is, you don't have economic power until you sign the front and the back of your check.
Okay. What's your favorite book written by you? Oh, you want to answer?
I'm not going to argue with you.
And why is that your favorite book written by you?
Because it teaches about positive things.
Did you have some negative things that happened?
Yeah.
Is that what made you write the book?
Yeah.
You want to tell them, for people who haven't read your book, tell them a little bit about it.
It tells about when a lady told me that I couldn't be a speaker because it wasn't a career. And 2 weeks later, I went to a pitching event and I won $25,000.
Cool. Kennedy, what's your favorite book that you wrote?
Lemons to Lemonade. It talks about more about my business and how I got started and what some of the things I'm doing in business.
How did you get the title?
Because I turned a negative thing into a positive thing.
What was the negative thing?
That I was kidnapped. I was misidentified by my school by misidentification. That was a negative thing, but I turned it out to have a business, and that was a positive thing.
What's your favorite book that you've written, Mr. 27-time author?
Yes, I have written 27 books, and this is one of my favorites. I got many favorites, but this is one of the favorites. It's called, I'm sorry, just covering up baby face. It's called Redefining Wealth. And the reason I like this book, it's a very easy read book. I think a lot of times people, when I first started writing books, people always thought that the thicker the book was, the more profound and epic the book was going to be. But a lot of times people buy books and they just sit on the shelf and they don't read them. So I said, you know what, I'm going to start writing shorter books, just straight to the point, concise, informative information that people could apply. Because that's the biggest thing. You don't want to just get information constipation and not be able to apply it. So this book, I'm able to talk about the educational system, things about finances, the money rules, all kinds of stuff like that. So this is my favorite one, Redefining Wealth.
Okay. Well, I haven't written one alone yet. I have 2 collaborative books, but my favorite one is the Raising a Mogul book because we're raising moguls. And it's here, right here. Because we're raising moguls. And it tells a lot of different stories that you can relate to because our family dynamics might not be yours. And it just teaches you about raising a mogul and some things that we've overcome, other families have overcome. And that's it. You got to get it.
And all these books can be found on our website, SeanJHarris.com or 1000foldpublishing.com.
Okay. Kaden, what type of stories do you like to read about, like when you're selecting a book?
Barnes and Noble sometimes.
What type of books though? Like what kind of stories?
I like business ones.
Okay. You like business books?
Yeah.
And what type of stories do you like, Kennedy? You weren't done?
I like.
Okay. What type of stories you like to read about?
You always talk about you like inspiring books of inspiration. Is that true?
Yes.
Still like that kind?
Tell them who you're studying right now, who's tennis player that you're reading about and watching a documentary too.
Serena Williams.
She's somebody who inspires you.
Mm-hmm.
And you, Daddy, what kind of books do you like to read about?
I like books that talks about overcoming struggles. You know, a lot of times, well, like I said earlier, you know, we focus on just the beautiful part of the ending of the story, but you don't focus on the struggle that most people have to ensue to go through to get to success. So I like overcoming stories that have struggle, but also a victory at the end.
So it's not romance novels?
I like romance novels. Not. We actually live our own romance novels, so no need to read them.
I like reading all types of books. I like stories with like a strong female lead. I like business books. I guess I like just a compelling story.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
That's Caden's favorite word this week, compelling.
And comply.
Yeah.
Because he will not comply if he doesn't want to. What do any of you think is the hardest part about writing a book?
Nothing. There's no hard part. It's all easy.
I guess I have to agree.
Well, the hardest part to me is like, I guess grouping topics together, because if I do like a life story, I'm like, well, this seems like it'll be pretty long, and you know, just how to group everything together or separate everything into chapters.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest roadblock to most people that want to write a book or inspire to write a book. Mm-hmm. And the best advice I would be able to give someone there is to just compile all your thoughts. Just get them down, put them on paper, stick your pads, and then come back, like you said, and then kind of focus it later. And then that way you can kind of chapter it. Because a lot of times people, when they're writing books, either you have chapter writers first or content writers first. Mm-hmm. So if you write your content first, then you go back and title the chapter. Or you can have a chapter writer, which means you actually title the chapter and then just start writing content thereafter.
Hey, Shiva. I think I'm a person when writing, I'm the chapter writer. Like, I pick the topics and then I can write about it. Shiva, which one are you? Do you just write all your thoughts down and then, you know, you separate the thoughts to make your chapters? Or do you pick your chapter topics first and then write? Mm-hmm. So, if you started writing a new book today, what would you write about? You go, Kennedy.
I would write about my family and...
What about your family?
About different struggles and situations that we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
Shiva just...
Miss Shiva said both. It depends on how she's feeling.
Mm-hmm. That's me. I'm a how I feel type writer. Yeah.
She preferred content.
Gotcha. Cool. Kaden, if you were writing a book right now, what would you write about?
I would write it about budgeting money.
Mm-hmm. Is that something you do a lot?
Yes. I actually created a course on that.
Oh, sure did. How can people find that course?
You can go to my website, daddydidyouknow.com.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Queen, what kind of book would you write?
What would I write about? Me.
What about you?
I guess I will start from the beginning. I haven't wrote my story out. Mm-hmm. You know, people know different parts or parts that they were involved in, but I think I have a pretty interesting story.
You do. Well, I think I would write about alternatives to traditional education. Just my personal opinion, and we've talked about that before. I actually think that public school will be a thing of the past, probably in the next 10 to 15 years. So mark my word, I said it here first. And the reason why I think that is like, you know, I think years past, about within the last 10 years, you know, we looked at homeschoolers as like, wow, that's real different. But now so many kids are being homeschooled now to where I think it's going to flip to where going to an actual physical building it's going to be a thing of the past, because with technology and everything, I think even public school systems, which, like you said, most of the school districts are going to kind of a half and half where you can go to school 3 days out of the week, do online courses 2 days out of the week, things like that. So I think in a period of time it's going to kind of go away.
She would say yes, she loves that.
What's that?
What you were talking about?
Oh,
the school
okay.
thing.
I thought y'all was something else while I was still talking. Yeah, but definitely because again, you know, I'm a C student. Everybody know that. I always tell people I was a C student, want to see my way out. So my mode of learning would be different than, I guess, the traditional. Caden, for an example, sometimes he dressed up in his Flash outfit and he just feel that he could learn in different ways. And my biggest thing is, did he get the answer and did he get it right? And the answer is always yes. So I like, let him do what he do.
Kaden, tell them how you learned about money yesterday at the drive-thru.
George paid for the food yesterday.
Tell them who George is.
George is my monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Is George in here?
No, George is not in here.
So George paid for the food, and then what? He got the change.
Yeah.
And shook hands with the person at the restaurant.
They brought everyone to the drive-thru.
So we have to use some very unique ways for Caden when we're teaching him because he'll get bored quick. So we have to be very creative. Kennedy, that's the thing too. I had to learn that everybody has different learning styles. So sometimes when I'm teaching them stuff, Kennedy wants a notebook. She wants to write it down so she can refer back to it. Caden, on the other hand, he likes to like voice record. Oh, you want to say?
I like to use my notes and I like to voice record it.
Yes. So I had to change with that because I'm like, just write it down. But that's my learning style. So I had to realize I have to appeal to his learning style or he's going to be bored.
Mm-hmm. Just like his pops. What else you got?
So how do you prefer to learn?
Me?
Yeah.
Straight to the point. I don't like long introductions. I don't like the feel good, fluffy, foo-foo stuff. Let's just get straight to the point. You know, when we're in the military, it's like, hey, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell it to you, then I'm going to tell you what I taught you. And that's the way I learn. Just straight, concise, to the point.
She was saying yes.
No need to sugarcoat it. Let's get it done.
I like that too. But I'm a visual learner, so I have to see something. Like, you could ask me how to spell a word, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me write it down. You ever do that, or can you just?
For the most part, I mean, you know, and when I'm,
I have to see what it looks like.
When I'm teaching, I try to stay focused on that point that a lot of people are visual learners. Some people need PowerPoints because, you know, if you know your content, you could just go without PowerPoint, but then you have to realize, like you just said, some people have different learning styles and need to actually see the visual to take notes. And I'm more of a recorder myself if I'm in an instruction environment.
Okay. Oh, one of the books that I do like that I didn't mention that was like, it changed my mindset a lot was The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson.
And why is that?
It just changed my thought process because it made me look at things that I had been taught or things that I had been doing and not realizing why I was doing them. But it came from what the title says, being miseducated or being persuaded how we were growing up and how slaves were told to do certain things and that kept repeating itself.
That's an excellent point you just made because a lot of times we have to make a paradigm shift in the way we think. And that kind of reminded me of a story that you heard me say before where this little girl saw her mom in the kitchen cooking and she had a ham and she saw her mom cutting the butt end of the ham off. So she said, "Mom, why do you do that?" And she said, "I don't know, because my mom did it. Go call your grandma and ask her." So the little girl went and called her grandma on the phone and said, "Hey, Grandma, Mom's in the kitchen cooking the ham. She cut the butt end of the ham off. Why did she do that?" And she said, "Child, so the thing will fit in the doggone pan." So her mom did it just because she saw it being done, but never knew what the true reason was. So, like you just said, it's all about thought process and mindset and seeing things from a different point of view.
It even touches on religion. It touches on, you know, why we are the biggest buyers, why we are the biggest consumers, and why we could buy the things that we consume. So, if you haven't read that, you should.
Oh, yeah.
I made DJ read it. I haven't made them read it yet.
Read what?
the miseducation of the Negro.
Yeah.
That
What else you
sounds
got,
interesting.
That means you want to start reading it immediately, huh? You should.
Sheba said she loves that book.
Uh-huh. What else you got, Lovey?
I'm supposed to have everything?
Yeah.
Sheba said that book is deep.
Yeah.
It is.
Very.
It really
very.
is.
What does it talk about?
Different things. Well, I can shift gears to kind of talk to you about what I was saying about powernomics. And a lot of people get touchy about that subject too when it comes to money. And I can just give you an example. I'm just going to put this out on the table. You do with it what you want to, spit it out, chew it, digest it. But a good example of how powernomics work, let's talk about what's called an economic bounce. In the African American community, we have an economic bounce of about 6 hours. So that means once we get money in our hands, it goes outside of our community within the first 6 hours. Caucasian community has a bounce of 6 to 8 days. Asian and Arab communities and Hispanic communities tend to go between the 12 14 days. And the Jewish communities go 19 to 21 days before it actually leaves their community. So I say that to say, if you look at a church setting, for example, a lot of people give or tithe their money into an African American church. Then that church deposits that money into a non-African American bank on that Monday. And then when an African American business owner decides they want to go to the bank to get a loan, they can't get a loan. But that same money that the African American churches put into the non-African American bank, they then turn that money around and give it to non-African American business owners that will then build homes and buildings, schools and hospitals in African American communities. And this is a part of the gentrification process. Mm-hmm. Now, grandma who lived in that same community for so many years is now ousted out of the community for the mere fact that she can't keep up with property taxes and so forth like that, property values. So in the African American community, we have to look at where we spend our money. That goes back to what I call boomerang money and frisbee money. You know, just like a frisbee, you throw a frisbee out, it lands on the ground and sits there. It doesn't come back. A boomerang, ideally, when you throw it, it's supposed to come back. So that's the same way we look at our money. When a dollar goes out, it's an employee. We expect it to go out and make a return and bring back friends. So that's some of the things that are talked about in that book to be able to understand how money works and to be able to get a return on investment.
Mm-hmm. She would say we should do a study group for the kids. We should, because
definitely,
like I said, I made DJ read it. He was 15, but I mean, why not now? I mean, what's the correct age, or you know what I'm saying? They can understand, so mm-hmm. we should start learning about that.
You're right about that.
Gentrification and everything.
Yeah, and you know, we enjoy nice things, but you know, we don't put our money into all the name brand stuff, buying designer purses, shoes, what have you. Everybody have their own particular vices. As many of you guys who follow me, you know I like watches and timepieces and neckwear, ties. So that's my guilty pleasure. But you know, I don't spend incredible amounts of money, like $300 on tennis shoes. Now I may spend a couple hundred on a good pair of business shoes that's gonna again bring me a return on investment when I use those shoes to wear the business suit to give a presentation or to conduct business meetings. That's gonna bring back income. But you know, we always talk about how the kids at the gym come in the gym with like 2 pairs of shoes. One to come into the gym with, change out the shoes, play ball with them, and go back. That just doesn't make sense to me. So that same money can be allocated and deployed in places where you can get an asset producing income so that you can keep going with that income.
Mm-hmm. So tonight we just really wanted to talk about reading. I mean, we have some books behind here. A lot of books. We have a lot of books over in the corner, and you know, we tell the kids just pick up a book and start reading. You don't have to finish it. If you just pick it up and read a page or whatever, just know that there's something new for you to find in every book.
Yeah.
And if you like it, you can always come back to it.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, guys, I think we gave some good information. And anything you guys want to say before we close out? Mm-hmm. Nope. I have a speaking event for anybody here in Atlanta or nearby in the Atlanta area. I'll be a part of the International List Tour, which will be here in Atlanta. It just came from Dallas a couple weeks ago, so I'll be one of the featured speakers and instructors. talking about wealth creation and business development. So that's going to be, I'll put a link on it, but it's going to be at the Hyatt, I think, downtown Atlanta this Friday and Saturday. I'm going to be doing some powerhouse training. They're going to unleash me. They already told me they're going to take my leash off on Friday coming out of lunch. I'm going to hit the stage about 2 o'clock. I'm going to run it till about 4 o'clock straight. And Saturday, I'm going to be the closeout speaker again that day too. So, man, put your chin straps on, your helmet, seatbelt. It's going to be rocking and rolling. You don't want to miss that. And also, Terry, we talked about we're going to be putting together a workshop here in Atlanta probably in the next 6 weeks. We got a lot going on, but we're going to try to get that in within the next 6 weeks. So be looking out for that too. Anything else?
Anything you guys want to say?
Cool. Well, all right, guys. Well, we enjoyed you guys. We enjoyed our trip, which we didn't want to come back quite yet. But, you know, we got to get back in the saddle and continue making things work to continue building.
Get back to your children.
Yeah, we had to get back to our children, as Kennedy so eloquently stated. But,
I was worrying all week.
You were
worried. Okay.
Yeah, Kennedy worries when we go out of the country. You remember we went to Thailand, she thought that we were going to get eaten by tigers. We told her we were going to go to the tiger sanctuary to play with the tigers. So she said, make sure the tigers don't eat the meat off your skin, the meat off our bones.
Yeah. She said she doesn't want to see bones.
Bye, Shiva. Thank you, Ziggy and Tootie, for making Caden's birthday cake.
Yes.
It's coming up next month. We're gonna post it. Y'all follow Ziggy and Tootie online. They make the best cupcakes, and wait till you see Caden's cake. It's a surprise.
And Ziggy and Tootie are the youngest bakery owners in the country. Now, I'm not saying they're baking out of the kitchen. They have a bakery, a brick and mortar business down in Bynum, Georgia. So check them out.
They are the best.
Yes, they are. Alrighty, guys. Well, we will talk to you guys next week. Go out and do some protective things tomorrow and the rest of the week. And we look forward to seeing you guys here real soon. Take care.